morning, and happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam, and thank you to everyone who's helping push all of my releases into the top 50 on Amazon. For those of you who have not yet picked up any of my books, they're all available for free on the Amazon store. I have a convenient page with links to them. Go to multipleworldproductions.com/Black Friday, and you can get links to all of my all of my previous releases that are available for free this weekend. So Our Past Is Not Define Us, Swan Song, Duet, The Muses, Sizzle Reel, and In the End, all of which are available totally for free and are available to add to your library to listen to forever. So go on there, you can add them to your library that way. So, before we get into the Santa Clauses episode 3, I want to address the Star Wars prequels, because I watched Attack of the Clones last night. You're probably asking yourself, why would you do that to yourself? And the answer is, I wanted to see how well the effects hold up. Because I hadn't watched that movie in a few years at this point. I would say 3 years maybe was the last time I watched this movie. So, sat down and watched it. And one of the things that I'm thinking about as I'm watching it is, this movie is shot basically entirely on a green screen. Everything here is on a giant green screen. Is there any reason that Disney couldn't release the un-CGI'd footage? That is one option. The other option is they do it themselves, but release the un-CGI'd footage and say, go ahead, fix it. Or they do it themselves and go in and clean up the CGI, make the environments look better, kind of fix, a lot of the issues that are visually there, because a lot of the stuff has aged so poorly. And the reason why, it kind of segues nicely into the Santa Claus, because, the Santa Claus's visual effects have not aged tremendously. That said, and keeping in mind, I'm really referring to the Santa Claus 2, where they had a talking reindeer on the screen for a good amount of the movie. Not a good amount, but a not unsubstantial amount of screen time. They have a talking reindeer in the movie. That one looks better than the reindeer in the new one, in the new show, which is just unbelievable to me that that's a thing. So, all that notwithstanding, in the Santa Clauses with this episode, I don't want to talk about Attack of the Clones anymore. I mean, I watched it last night, and I remember watching it and being kind of like the kid who's Coruscant is so fucking cool. I love the design and all of that, and moving on. But looking back at looking at the Santa Clauses now, the first thing I was really struck by was a few weeks ago. My dad and I were watching Monday Night Football, and they showed a clip from the show, and what I now know is a clip and not just a commercial for the show. I thought it was a commercial, because what it is it's Santa, Tim Allen, sitting down with Peyton Manning, who was interviewing to be the new Santa. And the bit as it is in the commercial is not funny. Where it's he's talking to him and he's like, so I see you have a completion rating of around 60%. That may be good enough for the NFL Hall of Fame, but that's not good enough here. We're looking for 100%. And then Peyton goes we, oh, well, I won't have a pass rush here, so that I'll be much better without a pass rush. And it's all right, that's kind of funny. And my dad turns to me and goes, do you think that's in the show? And I'm like, no, there's no way that's in the show. This is just a corporate synergy kind of thing, because the Mannings do the Manning cast, and Peyton Manning's a personality in and of himself, so it's kind of a cross-promotion thing. Then I watched this episode, and that bit is not only in the show, but it goes on for a full, at least 3 to 5 5 minutes. And I'm just like, why? Because the longer it goes on, the less funny it gets. And the thing is, it's like this episode is, Santa interviews some replacements, and I see that, and I'm like, oh, cool, so Peyton Manning, that Peyton Manning thing is in here. And here's the thing. I think that this show is missing opportunities all over the place, and I think that one of the biggest missed opportunities is not using this to be like, here's a bunch of Disney Channel stars, or, major stars from the 90s and 2000s, for people who watch these things, and it's like, they're going to come in and interview to be Santa Claus. And it's like, that would be great, because that's the thing is, to an extent, with a Legacy sequel, you are not only trying to target young kids, but also people who grew up with it. Peyton Manning is great, and I love, the jokes. Some of the jokes work, some of them are like, alright, move it along. But, whatever. I don't think that it's necessarily what's the word I'm looking for here? A good thing to have all that time wasted on one person. You could have brought in, what's his name? From, who was I'll Be Home for Christmas. You could have brought him in. You could have brought in, or you can focus it on Disney stuff, or you can bring in Zac Efron. You can bring in one of the Jonas Brothers, all these people who were big around the time that these movies were originally coming out. Or you can bring in other Christmas movie people, which also would have worked. But bringing in one with Peyton Manning and having that be basically the entire joke, and then it ending, and then going right to the next guy, which is Kal Penn, I think that that's kind of where you lose me, where it's we're holding interviews, and you hold 2 interviews, and one of them is not serious, and the other one is meant to be. It's just kind of a weird decision on that front. I would not have done that. Because it's just wasted opportunity, and I feel like that's what a lot of this show is. It's just, they have the opportunity there, and there are things there, but the opportunity is being wasted. And I think that the ending of this show the ending of this episode doesn't exactly shock, because it's the thing that they've established so far is that the Christmas magic is going away. And the reason the Christmas magic is going away is because less people are believing in Santa or anything like that. So, as long as that is the major conflict that's happening here, just replacing who Santa is not going to solve that problem. And that's kind of a key issue with this show, is that he is not, it's not solving the problem. So we get to the end of the episode and it's oh, the problem's not solved. Alright, who's surprised here? And there are definitely things that could have been fixed. You could have done a story about, Mrs. Claus discovering her identity, or something like that. Not just, she's been there for 26 years, or however many years, and now she's hey, wait a minute, I don't really have my own identity, do I? It's just kind of a weird thing to have, all of a sudden, after all this time, her be maybe just she has the out. But at the same time, that was not something that really was a point in the escape clause, which was 2007. There are so many things that, you watch and you're it's just a little weird, on top of everything else. On top of, I'm watching this thing, and there's this whole, late 90s, early 2000s, boy band style dance number, and I'm what the fuck year is it? Because when the first Santa Claus came out, this wasn't the style, and when the second one came out, it was already out of style. Because by the time the second one came out in 2004, we were already past that. We have already moved into, new territory with this, and we were already, somewhat past, the boy band craze. So it's it's the kind of thing that it feels like someone involved was like, well, we missed the boat on this, so let's do it here ironically and see if it works. But the problem is it just kind of feels off and weird in a very, and it goes on, again, too long. Too many bits on the show go on longer than they should. I think that's another big problem with the show. But I think we covered enough for Santa Claus for today. It's not a great show. I don't really have too much more to talk about with it. Because it's just everything. And the Christmas Witch is not good either. I mean, it wasn't a funny bit. And I guess raises more questions about the lore of the world if she's there. So we'll wrap up there for today. And happy Thanksgiving. And tomorrow we'll be here to talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So until then, have a great rest of your week.